before we talk about the good news, we got to talk about the bad news. That's how it works here. We need to, acknowledge, before you get the ice cream, you got to talk about the asparagus. So, the asparagus for the Wizards right now is Thomas Bryant tore his ACL. Sucks, trash, horrible, horrible injury to a rising player. And the only silver lining is that we're allowed to apply for a disabled players exception, which essentially just gives us another roster spot to sign someone if we so choose. Now, the free agent center class is not exactly looking sparkling, so wondering what Wizards brass will do. We'll see, and hopefully they pick someone impactful if they do so choose, and we hopefully actually get it granted, because I think last time we applied for it we got denied, so that wasn't fun. The other bit of broccoli in the Wizards' teeth right now is Russell Westbrook is still out. Looks like that left quad has been bothering him for longer than anyone anticipated. Legitimately longer than any of us expected, because it turns out he's been nursing this injury since we traded for him. And instead of us just being responsible and, hey, if we started 0-5 with an injured Russ, I think we might have a little bit more leeway, but us having him play while injured just seems weird because we were also resting him. Regardless, Russ is out for another week, and then he'll be reevaluated, I believe, at the end of that week, so we'll see what's going on with him as far as that goes. On a whole, just grander scale, COVID continues to become the defensive player of the year by just knocking the Mavericks out and postponing a couple games as well. And the NBA seems determined to keep the games going despite these very harrowing situations so far. And a lot of fans and a lot of other analysts and people have kind of looked at this and been like, I don't know if this is a good idea. The NBA wants to push through with it, so I guess we're just gonna see what happens, unfortunately, and hopefully all the players stay safe, and hopefully there's no long-lasting effects. These guys are the best of the best, and some of them have, at the very least, it's been hinted at by, like, I think Danny Green mentioned that, like, players still get, like, adversely affected, and if they're the best of the best getting adversely affected, it really sucks. So just hope everyone stays safe. Ultimately, basketball is just a pastime, and it's an optional thing rather than a primary thing. So let's not risk lives. Hopefully everyone can stay safe and be okay. And that is all of the bad news. Let's talk about the ice cream. I didn't expect to be talking about a Wizards win. However, I just had a strange feeling that for some reason the Wizards were going to win, and I was pleasantly surprised to be somehow correct. But the reason I was correct is because this time, instead of Beal having to put up a Herculean effort in a loss, he instead was able to actually have a balanced scoring as well as assisting and rebounding and defense, because the entire team actually came together. The ball was moving, it wasn't sticking, and there was defense, like decent defense played. Now, the Suns were actually pretty cold from 3-point line starting in the first quarter, and they just never were able to garner much of a run together. And it was pretty shocking just seeing that, because I legit, like I said, I had a weird feeling that we might win the game, but I wasn't like just confident or feeling bullish. It was more just like, somehow the Wizards are just going to just somehow do this, and they did. Robin Lopez had a near double-double. I think he got the double-double. Raul Neto was scorching the nets, and Davis Bertans is alive. Davis Bertans finally had a Latvian laser game, absolutely scorching the nets. It was, and he was pulling up from like, but I think the difference too with these pull-ups is that, so, like, I think his first made shot was just wide open. It was instead of him having to try to take a tough three to get into rhythm, he was wide open. When Davis is on fire, it's so fun to see, because the other team starts scrambling, And not only that, I think what helped too is that the floor was more space. This is something that like every Wizards fan has been ranting on because of the fact that we haven't run a space floor, and Bertans unfortunately kind of has to be one of our offensive cogs rather than like one of our main pieces. Like, and I get it. We paid him $80 million to shoot threes. I'm not saying that like, oh, poor Davis, but the lineups that we would put him in, it was like if he wasn't shooting well, then like the rest of the team was kind of screwed as far as like the bench goes. And the bench came out tonight and really put it on. And again, there was this balanced effort. When we run space lineups with Garrison Matthews and Bertans and Beal at the same time, it makes it so much harder for teams to justify trapping Beal. Now, Beal's passes out of these traps leave a lot to be desired, but ultimately a victory for the Wizards is a victory still, and that was fun to see. I don't know if it'll be sustainable because we play the Jazz next. I don't know if the Jazz will be cold, but I think we can at least keep up like the ball movement maybe and just decent defense. I don't think that's that much to ask. Brooks had some sort of question. Like he seems, as far as he goes, it seems like he doesn't have an adequate sense of rhythm, because I don't think when he subs back in players after like a hot start, it's usually like so long after they've already like caught fire. So it's a little bit harder for them to get back into rhythm. It was kind of funny to see him put Beal back in when we were up still like 25. And it's weird that I just thought about this. The Wizards seem to only be able to specifically win if we are either blowing the brakes off the team or basically we get lucky and the team misses. I think this was a game where we were somewhat in control, but it sort of felt like there were factors outside of that. But again, it's like if a team shoots badly, you could still lose to that team. It doesn't stop you from losing to that team. Just as the Kings, I think they had a game where they shot 60% and still lost. So I don't want to like be like, oh well, raw downer, Debbie Downer. But I just thought about that. I was like, it'd be cool where we had a win where we closed out a game properly. As far as Denny and Rui goes, as far as WizWatch goes, Denny and Rui didn't exactly have great shooting games. And as far as creation offensively goes, because I think a lot of Wizards fans are clamoring for Denny to be able to be the point forward that, for one, he was advertised as, but he's been put in, prior to this, he was put in a lot of situations where he's just kind of the spot-up shooter, and he could only really do, sort of secondary playmaking, because when you're playing next to Russ and Beal, the ball's kind of more going to fly to you when you're wide open rather than give it to you and create and let them move off ball. That's something that everyone's going to be keeping their eye on moving forward, especially now with Bryant out and Westbrook out for a whole entire week, seeing what Denny and Rui can do. Now, we don't run too many things through them, but like I said, although they struggled scoring, they did make up for it in other ways. Also, a random side note about Denny. Why is it that he has his hands up? I just feel like, and again, I'm a Wizards fan, so naturally, anything I say regarding my own team is going to be taken with a grain of salt because I'm a bit biased. But it seems like Denny gets some really unfair foul calls. And I know he's a rookie, so the minute next season starts and he's playing, they're going to be like, oh, no, actually, we were just testing him. But it just seems like he gets exactly 3 or 4 fouls, and 2 of them are definitely not true. 2 of them are false. They should not be happening. Because he has his hands up every time, and I feel like I've only seen a couple fouls from him where they were legit. But that's just a random thought from trend. I've noticed it seems like they just call BS fouls on him every now and again. And then with Rui, he's fine. He hasn't been as aggressive as he was, and I don't know if it's just the fact that he's been missing and he's getting in his own head. I don't know, I am definitely not going to pull some like armchair psychologist tells you why a basketball player who gets paid millions of dollars is clearly failing from this one thing he's not doing. Like, I don't know. I just hope it doesn't continue, and I hope Rui starts to be aggressive again. Ball movement really helps. Raul Neto hitting shots and attacking the paint. I still think that he should be the second. I still think he should be the second point guard off the bench, and then maybe run Ish. Which I've been harsh towards Ish. Like, sometimes his game like frustrates me, but when he's allowed to be a point guard, somebody pointed this out. When he's allowed to be a point guard, he actually does pretty well. So I think we should let him do that. But you know, when it comes to Brooks, everything's unpredictable. So yeah, pretty much that was the dub. You can't really get any kind of better win than that. It's just crazy to think for once we were up that much in the game and we played decent defense and we basically closed it out, but it was more the game was kind of already over. Yeah, I mean, Devin Booker still was doing Devin Booker things. CP3 was most likely doing CP3 things. It felt weird. It felt weird seeing the contrast too of a Suns team that has come from their bubble dominance and rolled right into the regular season with the same amount of swagger and a whole entire CP3 that they didn't have before. And apparently they've been playing so well, even though Devin Booker and CP3 haven't gone off together yet, which is insane to think about. I believe they're second in the West right now. I don't know if that's changed, but yeah, they were really good and happy, and then the Wizards just straight dismal and sad and depressing. I was just like, again, don't know why, but I was like, we're probably gonna win this game, and then I was right. So that was cool. It's cool to have a win. It's cool to have a dub. I'm fine with it. I think Wizards fans are fine with it. Love to see it continue. And hope it's not a lose. WizWatch. Phoenix. We beat the Suns. Now we're gonna play the Jazz. Oh boy. Well, this guy says, I don't know if Wizards have a musical preference. I wonder if Merlin listens to heavy metal. That'd be kind of cool. Or rap. Imagine Harry Potter just starts spitting bars. That'd be wild. That'd be insane. See you next game.